Hello, everybody. Happy December 21st, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is a special edition of the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, Connecticut Players Roundtable. I'm pleased to have two players in front of me who have not just committed to play sports the next 4 years out of college, but play football. And first, I'll introduce the Derby senior Jeff Polis. He'll be going to Western New England in the fall. Say hello.
What's up, guys? Jeff Polis, senior at Derby High School.
And I'm also, oh, no problem, anytime. I'm also pleased to have Justin Ortiz. He goes to Fairfield Warde, and he'll be attending Southern Connecticut State University in the fall. Say hello.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Justin Ortiz. I attend Fairfield Warde High School, and I'm senior.
You know, guys, it's great to be able to have two talented players who have an opportunity to be able to play football in the fall. But, you know, let's get right down to the business of why I have you both on. I'll stay with Justin first. Kind of, you know, I've talked to a couple players, you know, in this early process of having players come on during their commitment about going through the recruitment process during COVID. Kind of take me into the pre-COVID. How was the recruitment process?
Before COVID, I was mainly focusing on just pushing my game film out there. I wasn't really in contact with a lot of coaches before COVID happened, which is crazy to say. So I was just trying to like get better at my craft and try to get in contact with coaches and do that first step of getting them to see my game film.
Now I want to stay with Justin real quick. Now you said you weren't really heavily recruited in, you know, prior to COVID. Is that right?
Yeah. So my junior year was my first year playing varsity, and so it was a new experience for me, and it really showed me what I had to work on during this whole quarantine session. When I was indoors with my family, I was still working out, and it really showed me what I had to work on. So when we got into the pay to play league, I got to show what I had.
That's a pretty big leap when you kind of think about it, as far as going from playing varsity your junior year and then jumping all the way to the point where now you're playing at, you know, in the fall at Southern Connecticut State University. I mean, that's not like any kind of, you know, peewee football. That's some pretty heavy duty. I mean, you're going to be facing, pardon me, some of the best competition in the state itself.
Yeah. I really had a lot of work to do with this private trainer named Sean Dumas. He works at Legion of Doom in Fairfield. He pretty much got me to where I am right now. I would go there every week, and he actually played at Southern, so he knew what it took to make it on their team. So every week I would go there and pretty much like die doing the workouts with him. And it really helped me. I also had my coaches who were on the field with us at least once a week trying to get us better. It was mainly just me going out there and wanting to be better. What helped me reach my goals to going to Southern, because a lot of people were just like, oh, I'm going to stay indoors. Like, this is dumb. I'm going to quit. We can't do nothing because of COVID. But I still wanted to go out there and, you know, get better. So I just went with a couple of my guys to the field whenever we had the chance, went to my trainer, talked to my coaches, whatever I could do to get better, I was trying to go out and do.
That's great, man. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's a team effort. You know, looking at some of the great players who have come out of the state, you know, it's not just one person, it's multiple people to kind of, you know, in some ways come together to be able to get this, you know, the finished product, which is being able to play the next 4 years at a college. I'll go to Jeff next. You know, knowing you as far as you're a multi-sport athlete, you know, you play multiple sports, highly talented. I saw you play a couple years ago when I was doing a derby game. And I came away like, man, if this kid can kind of just put it together, and you really did. And it's a shame that I couldn't see you play in the fall. Potentially could see you play in the spring. We'll get to that later. Kind of just take me into your recruitment process, pre-COVID and then now during COVID.
So pre-COVID, finishing up my junior year, I had a pretty good junior year. And around January, I would say, my old head coach reached out to a bunch of schools, and kind of the thing was, we'll come back to you in March. Like, we like your film. We want to touch base again in March. And obviously COVID happened. And it was kind of down from there. It was like a lack of communication, you know, they were trying to figure out their rosters. We were trying to figure out what was happening on our side. So it was a really up and down recruitment process throughout the COVID. I stayed consistently working out, and that was where I really feel like I improved the most, which sucks because I obviously couldn't showcase it on the film and on the field this year. But I feel like that's where I really stepped forward as an athlete and got a lot better. So, like I said, it sucks that we couldn't play this fall, and that the recruitment went like that, but it overall ended up in a great spot. And yeah, I'm very happy where I'm going next year.
Out of the coaches that you talked to, because I had a player on last week from Simsbury who said that the one thing, because he didn't have a Twitter, this player, before COVID, I guess, or something like that. But I guess the coach said, you need to be on Twitter. You have to pump out your film. And I wonder, did any coaches kind of push on you anything as far as the Twitter side or the media side? Because especially with COVID, everybody's inside. And as we know, everybody's on their phones.
Well, that's how it started. So it started off with my coach touching base through email and then responding with, we like the film, we're going to evaluate Jeff. And then I got a bunch of followers on Twitter like that same week. So that's where the Twitter connection started, some DMs here and there. That's how I started Western New England. It started with a DM, moved to phone, and then progressed as the recruitment process continued.
Justin, is that the same case for you as far as the connections that you made with various colleges?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Twitter played a really big part of it. Most of the connections I made was with DMs, like he said. But mainly it was just me like starting it. None of the coaches were really reaching out to me because a lot of them were busy with their team and if they were going to play. That was the main thing. A lot of schools were nervous that they weren't going to play, so they weren't really reaching out because they were going to have kids that were going to come back and redshirt or just take a year off so they could play again. And so they didn't have like a lot of roster spots available at first. So mainly it was just me like trying anything I could do, either if it was just going to camps, going on the campus to tour schools. I was trying to do whatever I can to just get in front of those coaches.
Yeah, and piggybacking what Justin said, that's kind of where a lot of the roster confusion was for us as recruits. There was a lot of guys that, you know, were told they were like there as a prospect. And then as time goes on, you get kids coming back, kids transferring in. It made it hard for the college coaches how to fill their roster and figure out who's going to fit where and who's going to fit for the program the next year. So it was a really tough time for everyone involved, I think.
Yeah, it's difficult when you consider that the NCAA granted, an extra year of eligibility. I've already seen it from a couple players transferring. There was one player from Baylor now going to Utah. It's going to be his 5th year, but basically, obviously, as you guys alluded to, he's granted that 5th year because of the COVID situation and all that. I'll stay with Jeff here, kind of looking at the COVID itself. Back in March, everything started to shut down. The state of Connecticut, which is where we all live, there wasn't a lot of things to do, especially when the weather got nice. So for you in particular, how did you kind of keep up not just your strength, but also make sure that football IQ stayed as sharp as possible?
Well, thankfully, I have a good group of guys up at Derby. We, would go to the field once a week, twice a week. I also had some weights downstairs. So it was really a mental battle. I feel like a lot of it was, half the job was getting up and going. Once you're there, I feel like it's hard not to want to be out there. So I think, being in contact with some of my senior friends, senior teammates, and going to the field and pushing each other in case we had a season really played a role in my development as a player.
Justin, same question for you. And I think in particular, I feel like this question even raises more of a bar and shows how much and how hardworking you were before committing to Southern Connecticut. Because like you said, you just started varsity, you were a late bloomer, which there's nothing wrong with that. But with COVID and everything, you would think a late bloomer, now there's a pause. I feel like that kind of really tests your will and how much you want it.
Yeah. I will say that these months where we were quarantining and staying indoors and stuff were probably the hardest months of my life for working. I would probably work out twice a day. I would go out, run every day. Whenever I had a chance, I would go to the field with my teammates, do one-on-ones or just work on pass blocking, doing technique. I was thankful that my parents were able to install a weight rack in our garage, so I was still able to lift weights when the gyms were closed. But besides that, it was just me wanting to go out, be the best I could be. And it was really just the mindset I had during quarantine. I just wanted to go and achieve my goals of playing at a school that I wanted to attend for a really long time. That was pretty much it. I'm just really happy that my teammates were there to support me and go and help me work out in the summer at the field. That was the main thing.
I'll stay with Justin here again. Looking at kind of how much COVID has affected people and just looking at the athletes itself, as far as kind of, you look at the depression, it's gone way up, anxiety's gone way up, and even in adults as well. For you, Justin, and I'll go to Jeff with the same question in a minute. But Justin, for you, was there ever a point where you kind of during your workouts ever thought like, I'm doing all this work, but COVID keeps continuously affecting what my chances to potentially play at the time, college football? Did doubt ever come into your head?
Oh, definitely. There was days where I would be at the field and then I would look at my phone and I would get a news flash notification talking about how football's canceled, and then a week later you get another one. Football season is going to continue. It was every week. It was either it's going to be canceled or they were going to try to start it up again. So there was a lot of just high and lows during it, I would say. And then they said that we were going to do 7-on-7, and that was when it hit like real bad, because all the linemen on our team, we were just like, are they forgetting about us? That's what literally all of us were talking about it, how they're going to do the 7-on-7 and how they're just going to ignore linemen in football. Like, we were all like, what are we going to do? How are we going to play and be part of the team? And luckily they made the lineman challenges for us, which were cool. I mean, a lot of people didn't like them because there was no contact or anything, but personally I found it really cool because you were able to show your strength against other teams. But it was just a lot of high and lows. Like, it was real bad because there was kids on our team that didn't have any contact going into their senior year that wanted to play college football. And for them, they were really, really, really like sad about it because they had no film to show and they were trying to get that senior film and it just wasn't possible. So that just really like hurt.
Jeff?
Kind of what Justin said, a lot of highs and lows. I think I stayed pretty high throughout the whole process, the ups and downs. I was really motivated, honestly, to be the best player I can. And, being the senior and captain and stuff, I was really ready to, kind of put the team on my back and turn things around at Derby. The lowest part was probably the day it was officially canceled after all the rallies and all the pushback against it. Really tough day. And thankfully during the day, Coach Bresner actually texted me. And that's when I went up to Western New England, like following a couple of days after that. So like I said, one low moment turns into a high moment, just tons of ups and downs throughout that whole process.
Coach Bresner is a funny guy. I've talked to him a couple of times via DM, and he's going to be a great guy for you. And I think, again, to go back to you, I'm not going to leave out Southern Connecticut as well. A couple of the coaches I've talked to, a little bit, and they follow me back with the head coach actually follows me. I think those are two fantastic programs for the both of you. I'll stay with Jeff here. Again, to go back to the COVID situation and kind of how you had the ups and downs. You're playing, you're not playing. You're playing, you're not playing. Oh, wait, you know what? Now you're going to play. Take that back. It's just going to be 7-on-7. I feel like for you guys, I mean, looking at what could potentially be 11-on-11 in March, I mean, are you guys even thinking about that? Or is it kind of like, you know what? We were dragged through the mud so much. We're just out of tears. We're done.
So, I mean, if we're going to play, I'm ready to go to war every night, every Friday night. But if I'm not really going to sit here and invest everything into it, honestly, like I said, it was pulled away from us, given to us, pulled away from us. I'm not going to sit here and throw all my eggs in a basket and say this is going to happen. But I'm always going to be prepared if it happens. So, I mean, I'm not really have the highest expectations for it, but if it happens, we'll be ready.
Justin?
If we do end up playing in the spring, I'll play and I'll try to make the best out of it. But I've already achieved what I wanted to achieve for college football. So mainly I was going to go into it with the mindset of like winning games and just having fun. That's the main thing if we play. And it's mainly for the people that don't have offers, which I feel like kids that don't have offers are going to get a lot out of it if we do end up playing. But I mean, football is one of the most important and fun things about high school. And so if we do end up playing and we have fan sections, hopefully, I feel like that would just be a great experience to have for a senior year.
I'm kind of looking at it as far as, pardon me, I'll stay with Justin here again. If there's not going to be football in the spring, and I want there to be, and I think everyone in the state does, but if there's not going to be, and I brought this up to various coaches and a couple players as well that I've had on these roundtables, do you think that there's a way, because obviously this really doesn't affect you guys because in the fall you guys will be playing in college, but for the guys underneath you, the juniors who are going to be seniors, the sophomores and freshmen who've had little to no reps at the varsity level or even the high school level itself, and they need those reps. Do you think there's a way to have the, coaches work with the players even, during the off season, but just well beyond that?
Definitely. I mean, the first thing that is the most important is safety. But besides that, I see there's no problem with a coach going to the field every once in a while and helping these younger kids work with their technique. I think the major thing is going to be the rising seniors helping the underclassmen this year, because a lot of them are going to be very unexperienced. And so these guys that do have experience are going to have to take charge and, help the younger kids, show them what it's like, and just be the best role models they can. That's going to be the most important thing for the next fall season.
Jeff, I feel like you kind of have the same sentiment. I know with you, as far as, you haven't had an opportunity to be able to have Coach Boehner coach you in a game, but knowing him back at Woodland and just kind of seeing what he's done with Derby thus far, he's a very, very good coach, fantastic coach. And I feel like he would do as much as he could to help out, not just the seniors who are leaving, but also the underclassmen as well.
Yeah, Coach Boehner, and we've also had another coach, Mr. Grillo. He's from North Haven. Two great guys that really put this program going in the right direction. We were very senior heavy this year, and we needed a lot of younger guys to step up and, fill in on special teams, come give some guys a blow. And they really prepared us well before the season without even knowing if we were going to have a season. Being summer lifting 3 times, 4 times a week, 7 a.m., we were all there, getting guys there ready to go. So I know he'll have everyone prepared, whether it's the seniors this year for the spring or the underclassmen next year for the fall.
I'll stay with Jeff here again. I know that the concern is for why the CIAC does not allow coaches to coach the players beyond the season and have only minimal amount of, communication or meetings or practices or whatever during the off season, is because they're worried about tampering and kids going to other schools and yada, yada, yada. But the reason why I bring it up is because there's been so much lost developmental time. I mean, Justin mentioned it, about how the underclassmen are not getting tape. You have the seniors coming up or even seniors now who don't have tape. And I feel like, you have coaches who are certified, who know the players more than anybody. Why not, especially now because we're heading into a new year, but COVID is going to go into 2021, whether, we like it or not. Why not have these coaches who have the best interests, like you mentioned, Coach Boehner? I know the Fairfield Warde coach is also a fantastic coach as well. Why not allow them to help the players?
Personally, I don't know. I don't really get it if, you're in the weight room in the winter. And like I said, Boehner coaches baseball as well as football. And there's some guys who play football and baseball. So it's, especially at Derby, you're a small school, you guys are around each other all day. It doesn't make a lot of sense why they can't continue development throughout the year.
Justin, same question.
Yeah, I don't really know a reason why coaches aren't allowed to help players in like the fall. I mean, the spring and the winter. It really doesn't make sense to me. I mean, the coaches are good guys and they know the best. Like you said, they know the best for the players. And so just a coach being out there on the side, not even wearing a mask on the sidelines, like just teaching technique. I don't understand why there's a problem with that. It's not like we're going to do a full 2-hour practice where the whole team's going to be out there. If a couple guys go out there and the coach is there, like, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, I've kind of like looked back on it a lot, and I've kind of been considering like, okay, I do a positive and negative. I look at the negatives, write a couple things down, but then the positive side comes in. And again, maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm not, but I feel like the positives outweigh so much than the negatives, because it kind of goes back to, well, there's one bad egg. Okay, so one bad egg affects the other dozen eggs that are perfectly fine. It doesn't make any sense to me. Justin?
Yeah. Going on with that, also, I like to just say that for a lot of kids like me, coaches are more than coaches. They're there as role models, support. Sometimes they even feel like they're your family members. And so I feel like the SEAC needs to realize kind of that a lot of these kids need the support of coaches. And if one kid ruins it, then like you said, I don't understand how we're going to have one kid ruin it. And that's going to affect so many other kids that aren't even really connected with him, kind of. That's what happened with, what team was it? I forget, but there was a, I think it was Ridgefield maybe, that these people took a photo together and that one photo lets them canceling the football season for them. Like if that happened to us at Warde, I would be extremely upset if one student taking a picture with another student that didn't even play on the football team led to our football program being shut down. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Jeff, I kind of feel like you have the same sentiment only because I know, again, I know what Coach Boehner has meant to you and to the program, but also baseball, football for the short time as well. But just kind of also too, because Derby is, not trying to insult a small school. I mean, you said it, there's not a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, you guys know each other pretty well by first and last name basis. So I feel like any way to be able to have the coaches help would be beneficial. I know it helped you and how you were able to get your recruitment process through all the way to now playing at Western New England.
Yeah, I mean, even every coach I've had since I've been at Derby, that's how it is, a family, role model relationship with pretty much every kid who walks in the program and gives it their all. So it's just really silly to me. And, I hope it doesn't stun the development of football around Connecticut because, you want to see competitive football throughout the state. And, without coaches being able to help their kids year round and missing this year, it gives it, a hard time to develop.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Jeff. And, I really do appreciate you guys coming on. It's great to be able to have, two players who are going to play college football in the fall, talented players to be able to come on this roundtable and discuss various issues. I really do appreciate it. Jeff, one thing that you mentioned, and I'll go right to it. You talked about how you hope it doesn't affect high school football. And do you think with COVID and then you had the independent football leagues and other scenarios that kind of went on, do you see this affecting high school football for the next, I don't know, let's say 4 to 5 years? We'll just throw that out there.
Well, I think that, to start, a lot of numbers are going to go down if you want to know the truth. I mean, I feel like not having that year and not pushing freshmen to go play and kids throughout the school to play, it's going to be it's tough on the numbers. And, with the development independent leagues, I played in one this fall. We played 2 games and it was ran by Paul Mary. Paul Mary is from Woodland. They ran a nice little thing up there. So it could definitely develop into something different than playing with the CIAC. So it's going to be a very interesting next couple of years to see how players develop, how leagues develop, and how the overall game of football develops.
Justin, do you kind of feel the same way as Jeff? Because I see the independent league and I get it was ran in a very secretive, like, nobody, we're not doing anything. But, I feel like, and I'd hate to see this, but I hope it doesn't affect high school football. Now, if it's played in the spring, I think it kind of looks in a way like kind of AAU style or, kind of that second season if they can figure ways out to not allow you guys to take the hits because your bodies only have so many tackles in you. But, Justin, the question I have for you is, do you feel like there's a way that the independent league and high school football can kind of coexist, but separate and not have the independent league affect the high school game where it deteriorates like what we could potentially, and people are talking about seeing down the road?
I feel like we should continue with the independent league until it's 100% safe to play high school football. Because my experience was all positive in the private league. I mean, we played 5 games, and all of them were fun. There was no there was no COVID cases, no problems. Everything was safe. Everything was good. And so I feel like if we are to play independent league, that it's gonna probably have to be by town. That's the main thing. Like for us, we have 2 teams in Fairfield. And so I think that if we end up doing a private league, it's just going to be a Fairfield team, which I would have no problem playing with. The only thing is if we do play as one team and then we separate, those kids that are on, let's say, Ludlow are now going to have to transition from learning all of our plays to going back to their plays. And it's just going to be like this big, I think it's going to be a big misunderstanding for the players if they're learning one playbook and then they're going to have to learn another playbook. And then maybe one week they'll be playing for Fairfield. Next week you're playing for Ludlow. I feel like that would be the only problem really is just going back and forth. That's just going to get confusing, I feel like.
Yeah, football is one of those sports, guys, like I mentioned. I mean, Jeff, you can allude to it. Baseball, I mean, is much easier. I mean, you're not tackling and getting your brains beaten in left and right. I mean, there's a certain time that you need. That's why football is not played 12 months out of the year. You can do basketball 12 months out of the year. Baseball, to a certain degree, you can do that. I wouldn't advise that just because you need the rest. You want your body to be able to heal. I mean, the arm is not supposed to be throwing baseballs 9, 10 months out of the year. But the point I'm trying to make is, and I'll go to Jeff here. Do you feel like there's a way that maybe there can be something as far as a spring, independent league where plays can be ran and drills and such, but just get away from the tackling side?
I mean, the problem is you're gonna have kids who missed their baseball season last year and been playing, or kids who play AAU basketball, AAU baseball, and you got to make them make that choice, and that's where it gets tricky and it gets tough because those guys missed their season last year, the strictly baseball guys, and you don't want to make them miss that again. So I mean, I hope there's a way it would all work out. In a perfect world, it all works out. But like Justin said, I played independent league in Woodland this year, and us Derby guys and Seymour guys, we had to go learn Woodland's system, and in a matter of 2-3 weeks, and it was challenging. I feel like it's just a lot. It's a lot in such a little period of time, and as much as I want to, say it'll work, there's a lot of factors that would play into it working or not.
Guys, I really do appreciate you coming on. I do have one more question for each of you, and I'll stay with Jeff here. Going back to your commitment as far as Western New England, why did you choose Western New England over any other school?
Well, Western New England constantly showed me love from the minute they reached out to me to the minute I committed. When I stepped on campus there in the summer, it just something clicked in my head that this feels like home. Great coaches. Coach Brezer's a great guy. Gave us a really nice tour. Winning tradition. They've won a lot of games in the last couple of years, and just from the minute that I went on campus, it just felt like home and it felt right.
Justin, same for you, but this Southern Connecticut.
My bad. Like you said, it felt like home for me. My aunt went there, so she told me how it was a great school, and then my trainer went there and he told me how the team's awesome. And the great thing for me is that not only did coaches talk to me, but players from the school were also reaching out to me and talking to me about the team from a player's perspective. When I went on campus, it was just a great experience. It was probably the best campus tour I had out of all the schools I visited. Coaches were fantastic when I was talking to them on Twitter. It just seemed like a perfect fit for me. And it was one of my favorite schools since freshman year that I actually wanted to attend. It was my goal freshman year to attend a Southern. And so being able to achieve that goal and getting offered, I just knew that this was the place for me. This is where I want to go for the next 4 years, and this is where I want to go and try to be the best football player I can.
It really
piggybacking, what Justin said, the thing about players talking to you about the school. So this independent league, Joe Shea, he goes to play. He plays football at Western New England. He graduated from Woodland 2 years ago, and as I said, he coached us independent league, and he found out about me talking with Western New England and developing the recruiting process there, and he really pushed that on me, gave me a really good perspective without any bias about Western New England and what they brought on the football field and off the football field. So I want to shout out to him. He really sold that one for me.
I really do feel like, guys, it kind of, to me, and I'm not saying that the programs are not successful. Trust me, both those programs are very successful. I think you guys have a bright future there. But I feel like the comfortability and being able to get the relationships with the coaches and the players, taking anything away, and I'll go to Jeff, last question for you, and I'll go to Justin last as well. I feel like because of COVID and being able to kind of force to stay home and, in some ways, because our lives before COVID, everything was like, got to do this, got to do that, got to do this. By, it's 9-10 o'clock at night, then you're going to bed. But because of COVID, now you were forced to take a step back, and now you can kind of enjoy the recruitment process, talking to coaches, talking to as many players, doing everything possible to make sure that you made the right choice.
Yeah, so it was good having all that free time on your hand. I mean, honestly, you got to feel a lot out from different schools, former players, etc. So, the free time really, helped out with making this decision a lot easier. I think being home kind of made me want to get a little farther away. But yeah, the free time definitely was good for the recruiting process.
Justin, last question.
I feel like just being able to talk to many schools, many players, and just getting many perspectives from people about college football really helped me with my decision. This long period of time, I try to make the best out of it. I literally did everything I could just to waste, like not even waste time, but just use my time wisely. But it was just mainly that I was able to talk to many, many, many schools during this little time period that we were in. And it just really helped me make relationships. And I feel like relationships was the most important thing, because a lot of schools were coming at me, talking to me, saying the same things. But then Southern was coming to me. They were talking to me like stuff I'd never gotten from other schools, talking about life at home, talking to me with my family. It was just a great experience with them compared to other schools that were sending me just we want you. They were really interested and showed how they were really interested in me, which I liked a lot.
So happy to hear that for the both of you.
Yeah, just want to add what Justin said. That was a selling point of Western New England. You know, like I said, the day it was canceled, Coach Breslin reached out to me and wanted me up there. So, you know, that kind of, I knew right from then that it was a great fit, and they really cared about me as a player and as a person.
Let's end it right there. Coach Bressner, I'm sure will love that. Begin a little bit with him and then end with him. I'm sure I'll get a message from him saying he loved it. But hey, guys, the time is ticking. We've just about run out of time. I really do appreciate both of you coming on prior to the, Christmas Eve and Christmas holiday. I hope the both of you really, enjoy the holiday. It's well deserved, both what you guys have done away from the classroom, in the classroom, but also being able to commit to the colleges that you are. Justin, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it.
Jeff, same thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a good one.
No problem. That'll wrap things up in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. And remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm on a journey to find them all. Have a good one, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.